All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders, where we talk to founders about their companies, their visions for the future, and how the two collide. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to Adar Hay, who's the co-founder of Jiga. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
How's it going, Matt? Happy to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you on the podcast to learn more about what you are working on. For people that haven't heard of Jiga, what are you working on? What does it do?
So, Jiga is building a B2B marketplace that makes it fast and easy to get parts, to build physical products like hardware, medical device, automotive, aerospace, robotics, all of that sort. And we are also a YC company on the current batch.
So walk me through a little bit about if someone heard about you for the first time, like on this podcast, for example, and they wanted to use you. What's the user experience from the, if someone was to land on your website, what can they expect if they were to go through the process of kind of using the product and going through what you're doing?
Yeah, so anyone who wants to produce parts, they go to Jiga, they upload their part designs to Jiga, and they instantly and automatically get quotes and timelines from relevant suppliers around the world according to their preferences instead of waiting for days or weeks to get it quoted manually by email. By a human, they can manage the whole interaction process in Jiga, and we take care of support and logistics, and that saves them a lot of mess, a lot of time of dealing with versions going lost in delays and emails and back and forth and stuff like that.
Walk me through a little bit about why you decided to start this. What's interesting about this, and kind of what's the origin story?
So we started the company. It's actually a very interesting story. We started it during the COVID. My co-founder Asaf was a part manufacturing supplier essentially, and then he realized that it's very hard generally to order and get parts, and the process is very tedious and inefficient from both the supplier and the buyer side because he was a buyer also himself. And especially during COVID, you could feel that because you can't really visit the factories. So we started from parts actually to build ventilators for COVID, in 3D printed ventilators to produce them much faster than old methods, and we helped to accelerate the process of building them, and we started from there.
And as you've started this, this is a pretty interesting type of business. Not your average not your average thing that you see every day, right? Which is good. You
Yeah.
want that in a company. What have been some things that you've learned along the way? Whether it could be from building the company, experience in YC, anything you kind of want to share. What have been some lessons you've learned or things that you've kind of come across?
Well, everyone talks about focus, but until you get to deal with the problems of being needing to focus, it's very hard to do that because when you talk to your customers, everyone like there is this certain segment of customers that is telling you to build this, and some customers want to build Y, and you get spread to a lot of things, and you always want to satisfy everyone. So one thing I would say is being able to focus really really hard on one thing and do it really well is very challenging, even though you know that you have to focus. So that was for me like a very challenging thing because I knew that you should focus, and I still got distracted to other things, and then we got lost in doing too many things, and it happens so many times even though you know it. So just get back and focus and ship things very fast.
So I have a question diving into that because this has actually been the crux of my so short tech career is focus and lack of it. So I'm curious for you. You mentioned very just early on in that answer that it's hard to focus because you're getting all the different feedback from customers, and it's just very fragile state of a company because it could go in a million different directions on a dime. So how do you balance focus, like focusing on a thing, but then after you talk to a certain set of customers, realizing that you were wrong about something, and then changing focus to get closer to what customers want without this is like the complicated part, without it seeming to everyone that you're just like flailing all over the place. Like, how do you find that balance in the early stages?
So I guess that you will have to find to decide within the co-founders what is the thing that you want, the small thing that you want to build now that will satisfy a specific set of customers that you are aiming to. So there's no one. one solution for that. You just have to decide about the best direction to go to, because you can start from many directions. And then once you have it, you should just like keep doing that, not move aside too much. But though you do have, and to your question, you do have a time where you say, yeah, we have to pivot. And we pivoted multiple time when we started. We pivoted like massively, like to another idea entirely uh, around this problem. But like we knew that what we did back then wasn't going to make it. So you have to maintain that balance between knowing when to pivot and just keeping on focusing on what you do.
One thing that I realized really early on in my startup career is that like I feel like building a startup is like knitting a quilt. Where like you just kind of like do the same, you try to like just do the same thing over and over again. It kind of seems a little, in some ways, boring. Just you're just consistently doing the same activities. Like focusing on the same thing, but you look back after a while and you have a beautiful creation, you have a beautiful quilt, I think that's generally right. If you were to look out into the future for what you're building with Jiga, and kind of envision what it could be. What do you see in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? I guess in other words, what's the big vision here, and what direction are you rowing in?
Yeah, so the problem around ordering parts is huge. Like it's about all sorts of parts, all sorts of things, and that goes back to the question about focus. The whole process is broken. So what we want to become is that one place where all kinds of physical parts will be purchased in an easy way and fast way and a reliable way, and not just going over to many multiple places. So that's a very big vision, since today it's really spread around many different places and platforms and suppliers and local shops and stuff like that. But I'm positive that people need a way to do it, because the frustration is so big around that, and the multiple ways they use it is so messed up. And so someone will eventually build something that will be the one place where people buy the parts.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it's making the complicated simple. In order to make that happen, though, you'll need some help, right? It takes a village to make a startup work. So my question for you is, how can the forward-thinking founders community help you out? Are you hiring? Are you raising capital? Looking for customers, partnerships? How can we assist?
So thank you so much. If you want to help, we are looking for customers always, and buyers in the platform, suppliers as well, quality suppliers, that important to mention. And if you are building hardware products or know someone who do, I'd love it if you give us a spin on Jiga. It's jiga.3d.com. Let us know what you think. And we do also started fundraising, so that's another thing.
And then you mentioned it just there, but just to make sure people don't miss it, if someone wants to learn more or find you online, what's your website? Do you have social media handles? Do you have an email? Like, how can someone get in touch if they want to?
So they can go to our website. It's Jiga 3D. It's 3D, like the letters.com. And if they want to contact me directly, that's also possible. It's Adar, ADAR, at giga3d.com.
Cool. Thanks for coming onto the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt, for having me. It was a pleasure.